Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Will from the Well. I am here to encourage everyone with a very small devotional. I promise you I won't be long. But today I want to encourage you guys from the thought of an appointed time. We all hear this saying a lot in different ways. God has an appointing time and God has a time for this and that. But I want to give you scripture to back this up. Something I have been reading in Ezekiel. Ezekiel was one of the prophets who actually, at the age of 27, he was taken into bondage by the Babylonians. But mind you, his whole life, he had been training and preparing to become a priest. His entire life, he was preparing for that. Now, just imagine you training for something and prepare for something your entire life, and all of a sudden it's snatched away from you. How devastating that may feel. And sometimes how it just takes the breath right from your life. But one thing I want to encourage you with is when you go over to Ezekiel, the first chapter, starting at the very first verse, it says, "In the 13th year, in the fourth month, on the fifth day of the month, as I was among the exiles by the river of Chebar, the heavens were open, and I saw a vision of God." The importance of this is the fact that he was training to be a priest. He was taken into exile at 25. On his 30th birthday, check this out. This date that he is speaking here is his actual birth date. On his 30th birthday, God called him to be a prophet. Now, just think about that. We have been preparing ourselves, and all of a sudden, at a point in your life when it seems like everything is lost and everything is just going haywire, and you have no control over your destiny as is, and God calls you on your birthday to show you that number one, I didn't forget about you. Number two is that I'm always here. Another thing that I love about this here is that it shows us is that we sometimes have plans for our lives. We sometimes have things that we want to do, but God has a way of interrupting and showing us is that He is calling us to something different. He's calling us to something bigger. Because in the position of a priest, his whole thing was he wanted to see the glory of God. He wanted to go into the holies of holies and make offerings on behalf of the people, just to witness his glory. All the priests just wanted to experience his glory. And unprompted, on the day of him turning 30 years old, God called him and he experienced God's glory in a whole nother magnitude. And now his assignment isn't just impacting those that he's making sacrifices for. Now it's to lead and guide a whole nation by the words of God. And I just want to encourage us is that there are some points in our lives where we may not get it. But when God calls you to do something specific, he's always going to show you exactly what it is he wants you to do. And Ezekiel's life was changed. God began to give him visions and God began to give him different insights on what it was that he was going to do. And the thing that I love most is that the expectation of God's glory falling on him in times and spaces when it was almost an inconvenience to his life. It was almost an inconvenience to what it is that he wanted to do. But when you understand that there's a call on your life and when you understand that there is an assignment that God has placed on you, it's always going to be an inconvenience to your life. It's always going to be an inconvenience to what it is that you think you want to do. But when you're called and when you know you have purpose and when you know you hear his voice, that is the one thing out of everything in life. If I hear his voice and I have his presence, if his glory is in my life, that's all I need. Because that is the thing that's going to get me to the appointed time. Because what I thought was my appointed time, it was delayed, y'all know the saying, but never denied. But it came in a time when he least expected. But it also came in a time when the people needed it. And sometimes we don't realize the gift that God has given us. It may not fit in the moment that you're in, but there's going to come a time when that voice is going to be needed. There's going to come a time when that gift it needs to be used. It's going to need to be put on display because people are going to need it. And when the time comes for them to need it, God is going to give you the words, he's going to give you the tools, and he's going to make the way clear so that you can walk in what it is he's called you to do. So if anything, if I want to just give a little recap real quick. Ezekiel had been preparing his life for one thing. At 25, it was snatched away from him. 5 years later, while he is in bondage, on his birthday, God called him and gave him a whole nother assignment. So the glory that he was expecting, it came greater than anything he could ever imagine. And his life was changed in a whole unique way. And I just want to encourage us is that when God shows up, when his glory shows up, don't fight it. Give in. Because what he wants to do is not only going to help you, but it's going to help those around you. I love you guys. Until next time, have a good one.